So have you ever seen pond water under a microscope? Have you tried to examine pond water under a microscope? Have you ever seen moving organisms in a stagnant water? This explains the activities of protists in biology. What's up, my wonderful students? Today we're going to be talking about Kingdom Protista. I still remain your favorite tutor, Sabot. Now, last lesson we talked about Kingdom Monera, so you can watch the video right now. It's a foundational knowledge for everything I'm going to be teaching here. All right, under this lesson we'll be talking about introduction to Protista. We get to know what protists are. You're going to know their characteristics. You are going to know their phyla, that's the phyla under this particular kingdom. They will examine their major examples and describe each of them. Then we'll know the mode of movement of the protists. Then we'll know the nutrition in protists. Then we'll also know the reproduction and the economic importance. Then finally we differentiate between the Monerans and the protists. Okay, so what are protists? Protist contains mostly unicellular and eukaryotic organisms. When I mean unicellular, they have just one cell. They are not multicellular. Then eukaryotic means that their cells have defined nucleus. All right. Then they have three nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. That means the different organelles in the in the cell. Okay, from the endoplasmic reticulum to the ribosomes to the lysosomes and the mitochondria. They have membranes. All right. Okay, so and they are found mostly in aquatic environment. Next, we're going to talk about the general characteristics of protists. First, they are mostly unicellular organisms. All right, they are mostly unicellular organisms. Then they are eukaryotic. They have through nucleus. Then third, they live in water or moist environment. Then fourth, some are autotrophic. That is, they can make their own food by themselves. Then others are heterotrophic. All right. Then they show animal-like movement. They have organs for movement. All right. Next, they reproduce mainly by binary fission. That is, one organism we divide into two, then the two we divide into two again. All right. So they have specialized structures for movement, from flagella to cilia to pseudopodia. All right. Then major examples include Amoeba, Euglena, and Paramecium. So these are the general characteristics of Kingdom Protista. All right. So next, you're going to talk about the phyla under Kingdom Protista. And we have four phyla, four of them. We have the Euglenophyta, we have the Pyrophyta, we have the Chrysophyta, and the Protozoans. All right. So let's describe the protozoa. All right, an example of protozoa is amoeba. You can see the diagram on the screen. So they are aquatic protists that are irregular in shape. All right, the aquatic protists that are irregular in shape, they don't have a defined shape. Okay, so they move using pseudopodia, that is 4 feet, and have holozoic nutrition. Okay, and the way they actually feed is by engulfing food by phagocytosis using their pseudopodia. Okay, and they reproduce by binary fission. One amoeba will simply divide into 2, and so on and so forth. All right. So the next one we're going to talk about is Euglena. Euglena has chloroplasts like plants. That means they photosynthesize, okay, to make their food. Okay, then Euglena is one of the organisms that, is very unique. Okay, it has plant-like characteristics and animal-like characteristics. Okay, then it has flagellum like animals. Plants don't move from one place to another, but animals move. So movement is an animal-like characteristic of Euglena. So in your exams like WAEC and NECO, you should be able to differentiate between the plant-like characteristics and the animal-like characteristics. All right. So next, they have eye spot for light detection. That means if it detects stimulus, it can move away. All right. So that is irritability. Okay, then they are mesotropic. What's the meaning of mesotropic? They have both autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition. That is Euglena for you. Then they use flagellum for movement. Their organelle of movement is the what? Flagellum. Okay, you can see the diagram of Euglena. So next, we'll be talking about the Paramecium. Okay, so in describing the Paramecium, it is slipper shaped. Okay, like your slippers, the slipper shaped. Then They are covered with cilia for movement. The organelle for movement in Paramecium is what? Cilia. Okay, they are found in stagnant water. Then holozoic nutrition through oral groove. So they use the oral groove for eating. Okay, remember we said in amoeba they make use of phagocytosis. Okay, they engulf their food. Then they reproduce by binary fission and sometimes conjugation. All right, you can see the diagram of Paramecium. So next we are going to talk about the nutrition in the protists. Okay, how do they feed? For example, autotrophic, you have the autotrophic mode of nutrition, and of course it is photosynthetic in Euglena. Euglena is a perfect example of autotrophic nutrition in protists. So we also have the heterotrophic ones, for example, amoeba and paramecium. Okay, amoeba by engulfing. Okay, then paramecium just by beating the cilia, and the food will enter into the oral groove. All right. So we have the mesotrophic, the ones that have plant-like and animal-like nutrition. Okay. So next we are going to talk about the reproduction in protists. How do protists reproduce? Okay, it's mainly asexual. Okay, when we mean asexual, it requires just one organism, not a male and a female. Okay, the asexual mode of reproduction in protists is binary fission, as I've explained earlier. While some undergo conjugation, the example of the organism that undergoes conjugation is the Paramecium. All right. So next, we're going to talk about the economic importance of protists. Whenever we talk about economic importance, we're talking about the disadvantages and the advantages, all right? Not just advantage, okay? So the first one is that they form food chain base in aquatic systems, all right? Then oxygen production. Some photosynthetic protists, they produce oxygen. Then next is research in biology. Protists are used for research in biology. Then the disadvantages. First is that some cause diseases, for example, the malaria parasite, Plasmodium. Okay, you know what a parasite is? It feeds on this particular organism and is very harmful to it. It's not beneficial. Okay, and we have two types of parasite. We have the ectoparasite, the one that lives outside the host. Okay, for example, lice, tick, and we have the endoparasite like Taenia sodium and Taenia saginata and this Plasmodium. Okay. Then they contaminate water bodies. Remember, they live in aquatic bodies, so they are actually going to contaminate these water bodies. So that's the economic importance of protists. So next, we are going to differentiate between Monera and Protista. So on one side, we're going to have Monera. On the other side, we're going to have Protista. All right. So for Monerans, there is no true nucleus. While for Protista, there is true nucleus. For Monera, they are prokaryotic, while Protista, they are eukaryotic. For Monerans, there is no organelles, okay? Remember, there is no organelle in the cell of the bacteria, all right? Because the bacteria are the chief representatives of the Moneran kingdom. So you can watch that video again, all right? So the protists have membrane-bound organelles, I've explained earlier. So example of Monera is the bacteria, while the example of the protist is the amoeba. Okay? So you have come to the end of today's class. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for staying to this moment and watch out for the next video. So subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss out when it drops. Thank you and God bless you.